Will Snow, and I'll be your host today with Date with Tech, in association with TraceCon, Launch Foundry, and Below the Fold. We're at the Dubai AI Festival, and today I'd like to welcome Dr. Alex Aliper, co-founder and president of Insilico Medicine. Alex, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Cool. Good to have you. So, Dr. Alex, a few questions. We're discussing the future of medicine, AI's new frontier, and drug discovery. What first got you thinking that AI could actually help discover new medicines? Was there a breakthrough moment?
I think from a get-go, and we started back in 2014. Back then, the AI was very nascent, and generative AI was very nascent, right? It's kind of the year that the first papers started coming out. And when we started in biology, we started in oncology specifically, trying to identify reasons, molecular pathways that drive cancer growth, that drive the onset of this disease. We wanted to modulate those pathways we identified, and that's how we entered the pharmaceutical kind of realm of business, and we started talking to pharma companies. And soon enough, we realized that within pharma companies, big pharma companies, it's a great organization, it's very structured, but some, processes can be like optimized. Some departments are pretty disjointed.
For sure.
And on average, it moves pretty slow, right? So it takes, like, by different estimates, from 10 to 17 years to get a single molecule approved.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time, and it takes billions of dollars to get a single drug on the market. So it's terribly slow and terribly expensive. And we thought that, why don't we use the latest advances in AI in both biology, in chemistry, and see if we can make a difference, if we can cover this entire drug discovery cycle and then go into drug development with the help of AI and make it more efficient and fast.
Understood. Yeah, amazing. For me, it's always very interesting when I think about AI. I see a lot of it in the commercial advertising space, but from a medicine perspective, and even like in the environmental side, we haven't heard so much. So it really inspires me when I see work coming out of the medical space using this advanced technology.
Yeah, I think AI is touching every industry these days, and medicine, healthcare is no exception. AI made strides in diagnostics. Diagnostic tools approved by FDA, and it really helps physicians today make really highly accurate diagnosis and prescribe treatments. But this is only beginning of this journey. So yeah, AI has a long way to go in healthcare. Sure.
And like you said, every industry is affected by this. How are medical institutions dealing with the rapid change? What's happening inside these organizations?
Well, it depends on the institution. Some are more conservative, some are more kind of daring and innovative. If we're talking about hospitals, I think, hospitals that are on the cutting edge, they have adopted some of the AI technologies, specifically within the domains of medicine related to diagnostics, imaging. So imaging is probably the first area that was touched by AI in meaningful ways, images, right? So, and imaging data. And that's why we have first applications in medicine being approved related to imaging. I think, in healthcare, like hospital setting, the adoption is, it will take time, but it's probably the right approach, because when I think about AI in healthcare, I also think of, potential distance to potential harmful event. Like, what are the risks of adopting AI too quickly?
For sure.
Yeah. So if this distance to a harmful event, theoretical event, is long, then it's okay to implement faster. If it's shorter, then you need to take more time.
Okay, that makes sense. Depending on the diagnosis and what the patient's dealing with.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I understand that. That's a smart way to do it. So we're still including the human on the high risk kind of side of things, and we're starting to introduce the tech on the more low risk side of the business.
Yeah. So it's one thing when you kind of identify something within a CT scan, right? And another thing when you use AI to operate a machine that performs surgery,
For sure. Okay.
right?
Understood.
So it's
Makes sense.
different,
Makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's move on to the next question. With regards to AI drugs, really, which is what you're doing, how do you get these into human trials? What's the process involved in that? Is it a bit more tricky?
Yeah. Typically, the process consists of several stages. On the grand scheme of things, to get a drug approved, you need to complete drug discovery and drug development. Drug discovery is everything what happens before drugs enters human clinical trials. So it's pre-human stage. And drug development is human clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, 4, and launch, commercial launch of the product, of a drug. So drug discovery typically takes 5 years, and it includes, in traditional industry, it includes target identification. So you need to understand what is the origin, what is the causal reason why the disease happened. So that's typically a protein. Target is a protein that we want to modulate in the right way to change the trajectory or cure the disease. Once we identify this protein, you need to generate a molecule, an actual drug, that would modulate that protein in the right direction, either inhibit or modulate up in terms of upregulation, and can be more kind of subtle mechanisms of modulating the target. And once you identify this molecule, you optimize it for safety. So it must be very safe. It must be efficacious in animal models and cell-based models, organoids. And after you nominate your developmental candidate, the final molecule that you are sure works in animals and you are confident it will work in humans, you go into IND-enabling studies that prepare you for human clinical trials. So this is where discovery stage ends. Well, IND-enabling sometimes referred to as preclinical stage of drug discovery. So that's the process. Typically, it takes 5 years. With the help of AI, we showed that we can do it in 18 months or even faster. For our lung fibrosis program, it was 18 months. And we did it on a fraction of the budget of traditional industry. Instead of hundreds of millions, we did it on like $2.5 million dollar budget. Yeah.
Great. So it's really bringing efficiencies in both a monetary aspect as well as a time aspect to the industry.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. It's a very deep subject, one close to my heart. Love it.
It is a rabbit hole, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think with these things, you usually have such a big team of engineers and scientists working behind them. How do you keep innovation focused and grounded in real world results?
I think this framework around like actual medicines that we're discovering really helpful, because ultimately every single effort funnels through this workflow. No matter if you're working in biology, try to identify the target, or chemistry, generate the molecule, or you're developing software that helps others discover targets and molecules. We have software business as well. We sell software to big pharma and academia and biotech. No matter what you do in the company, ultimately you're contributing to the drug discovery, to the discovery of a medicine that will make a difference, that will in people's lives, right? So in patients' lives. And this is super motivating, and it's a driving force behind like every single employee we have. And in terms of innovation, that's also what fuels innovation. We want to make it more efficient. And in order for us to break those paradigms, we need to innovate, we need to invent new workflows, faster cycles, and innovate not only in terms of algorithm, but also operational excellence, right? So efficiency, how do we move those experimental processes faster? Because in drug discovery, you cannot evaluate the quality of your LLM output unless you go in the lab and physically make the molecule and test it. You need to spend the time and resources to go in the lab, synthesize a molecule, test it. It's not ChatGPT where you see if
for sure
response makes sense or not.
You need all the information.
You need to experiment, and that's both a blessing and a curse. A blessing, because it also, ensures that whoever goes there first, have a lead in that domain, and we were fortunate to be a pioneer in this field. But of course, it is in a way disadvantageous because you'll have to spend this time anyway, no matter how what fancy algorithm you have. You need to validate it in the lab.
Yeah, you're basically generating the data from nothing, right? So there's nothing to train it, and that's what's so experimental about what you guys do. So it's very much cutting edge, if not bleeding edge. I think something that you mentioned is really having people having passion for what they're doing and how it is changing the world.
Yeah.
If you could recommend a piece of software or a piece of advice for people starting off their journey into this healthcare tech industry, what would you say?
I mean, you can start with some of our papers, for instance, because we cover the entire cycle of drug discovery. And software-wise, we have a software for the full stack of drug discovery tasks, from biology to chemistry. We have many software applications, including automation piece with our automated lab, a full automated lab operated autonomously. So you can start there. Start with some of our papers. Of course, I would encourage everyone to embrace AI, embrace LLMs, try them, test them, challenge them, get curious about them, because they will be more and more powerful, more precise. We already can reason at a pretty good level, and this will be, an integral part of our lives. Well, in a way, it already is.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you're also mentioning challenging it. I think that's really where excellence comes from, which is fantastic. And I guess going back to the challenges, what is one component of this whole phase that you would love to see sped up?
I mean, we're doing pretty good job on speeding up those phases that can be improved in terms of efficiency on the discovery stage. I think clinical trials are there for a reason, so we need to make sure that the drugs are really safe and efficacious. So you cannot really cut corners and bend the rules in the clinical trial
for sure
stage. In drug discovery, we are pretty efficient. I would say areas that we can improve on would include faster chemical synthesis of the generated molecules, faster testing. But this is where robotics come in to help us, right? So we have robotics lab that will enable both automated synthesis and automated screening of the molecules. So automation is coming to drug discovery as well, and it is touching every industry. So I think it will solve many of those challenges on the timelines.
Yeah, we've definitely seen AI starting to merge into robotics. I think it'll be a big theme this year is obviously generative agents, but as we see that shifting into robotics, that's really where I think I see a larger benefit for all industries.
Yep.
Amazing. Cool. I guess the last question from my side is just what's one thing that's happening out there with AI and stuff that the public perception or the public people don't actually know about, but they should probably be aware of?
I think there are a few things, right? So I think public is not yet ready to the speed of innovation in the field of robotics. I think it's going to be coming to reality sooner than most of the public thinks. I also think that related to new technologies, right? So there is a big hope on quantum computing. It has kind of its ups and downs in terms of publicity, right? So, but it's not there yet on the hardware level. But I think within a reasonable single-digit year horizon, you will see incredible breakthroughs in that area. We are also working on quantum computing to some extent in a kind of POC setting. We just published a Nature Biotechnology paper.
Wow. Amazing.
Using real quantum computer to generate a molecule. So I think automation and new technologies related to quantum and maybe domain-specific foundational models that we're developing, we call them large language life models, would be making difference in a very short time period.
Amazing. Wow. Well, Dr. Alex, that's all we've got time for today, but really thank you so much for stopping in and having a conversation with us.
Thank you so much.